Good evening. I am Richard S. McGhee, and you are watching The Learning Tree. I have with me three distinguished guests from the World Unity, Inc., right?
Yes.
To my right is Sarah Ting, who is the president.
And founder.
Sorry?
And founder.
And
And Bob Sansoni.
Bob Sansone, okay,
And Danny Garriga.
yes, all right. I knew that all along. I don't know why they had to tell me. Starting with you, give me a little information on you. Where you started out in life, where you were born, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. I started out in life in Cuba. As a matter of fact, Havana. That's where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And was there until just about when I was 5 years old that my father decided to fight for freedom, and do some volunteer work until the government granted exit, out of Cuba. So we left when I was just right around 5 years old to go to Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
and lived there most of my life. I was raised there. Went to
What part of Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, right in Bayamon, right near San Juan,
Okay.
and lived there through.
I was there once.
Yeah, it's a beautiful island, isn't it?
That's right, it is. Right.
And I was there through grade school, even through college, until I moved to Orlando, Florida, and then I became an adult at Orlando, Florida, and did most of my life there until I moved to Boston 9 years ago.
9 years ago. Why'd you come to Boston?
I came to Boston for an offer of a software company that they wanted me to come here to implement the software, and I accepted the offer and came up and liked it and ended up staying here.
You brought your entire family.
Well, just myself.
Just yourself. You didn't bring the family. Okay. You didn't get the family till you got here, or did you?
No, I just recently got married, so that's family.
So how did you get involved with World Unity?
That's a very good question. I met Sarah Ting at an event that I attended that it was related to diversity pretty much. And Sarah raised a question that kind of gave me a lot of intrigue. And at the end of the event, I was looking for her. And when I found her, I asked her, why did you ask that question? And the question was basically
What was the question?
Yeah, the question was what leaders nowadays can do in order to bring people together and recognize diversity and diversity among ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What character? What characteristics the leader must possess in order to make that happen? And the leader at that time, the speaker at that time, would not answer the question, and so I wanted to know the answer to the question, and I wanted to know, why Sarah was raising that question, and she began to talk to me about World Unity Incorporated, and the reason behind the question. Then she invited me to be part of the organization. I attended a couple of meetings, and after that, I made up my mind. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be part of, raising awareness of the diversity that we have, and really have the inclusion and the equality that is much needed. Not only in Boston, but
How long have you been with the organization?
Close to 5 years now.
5 years. Okay. And Bob, a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm a resident of Everett. Spent most of my life in Everett. About 10 years in Stoneham.
You guys ever going to go to casino?
2019.
Oh, I thought that.
June
they kept
3rd.
vetoing
They
it.
actually have an opening date, believe it or not.
It's going to open 2017.
Not 2019.
19. Okay.
Yeah.
Means I got to live a little longer
Save you money.
in order to gamble close at home. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I grew up in Everett. Pretty much, back in the 70s and 80s, Everett was pretty much, white, Irish, Italian. It's completely different now. It's a melting pot, which I think is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Asian, Haitian. I mean, you walk down the street and there's a good chance you may hear a foreign language being spoken, which I think is wonderful.
What do you do for life?
I work a lot, spend time with my kids and friends. Love to get involved in diversity initiatives. Sarah and I met about 8 years ago, at a diversity networking event.
So you've been involved for 8 years.
Yeah, started out, I think maybe the first 4 or 5 as a volunteer, and then the last few on the board.
Okay. And Miss Ting,
Yes, Richard.
we've been together before,
Yes, we have.
but would you again tell me all about you?
A quick snapshot. So I was born in this country. My parents are immigrants. So I'm first generation born here. My father at the time when he came to this country was a diplomat representing the nationalist Chinese government. And in his wisdom, he realized that if his children were going to live in America, he wanted us to really integrate into America. So we always lived in a predominantly white community.
Where was that?
I'm sorry, in Queens, Astoria, in New York City.
Oh, in New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's where I spent my formative years, all the way up to, well, high school, then we moved to, eventually we landed in Fresh Meadows, still in Queens. What brought me to Boston was college. I ended up at Boston University. And
Okay,
so,
BU, good school. Yeah, okay.
and so my entire adult life has been in Boston.
So what did you do after you left BU?
I was trying to find the right career path for me.
Hmm?
The right career path.
What was that?
Well, at the time, it wasn't diversity and inclusion. There was no such industry. It didn't exist.
Okay.
So I was trying to, what I realized, what 4 years of college taught me, 2 very important lessons. Number 1, whatever you choose to do in life, make sure you enjoy it.
That's very
Don't
important.
do something that you don't enjoy and you're only doing it for the title or for the check. Do something you really enjoy.
Sometimes the check comes first. So.
Yeah. And then the second is I realized that I had to find what my skill sets were and my talents, and then pursue a career that would allow me to use those skills that I naturally had.
And what are they?
Well, I ended up in the media.
What?
I ended up in the media doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I was a reporter for 10 years.
All right.
And then I
Tell me
was a
about
talk show
that.
host.
All right.
I was a reporter for Urban Update, Channel 7 TV, for
Okay.
about 10 years.
Urban Update. Okay. All right. All right. What else did you do?
Well, I worked in radio also for about 4 or 5 years. And then prior to all of that, I got involved with equality issues and organized a media campaign in Boston and then took it to New York City. So I think that's what planted the seed for me to do work in this field of diversity and inclusion.
What are you doing now? World
Unity, Inc.
That's your whole
Well,
passage of your life at the moment.
the last several years, but before that,
Okay.
I was doing TV reporting, which because I was a freelance reporter, so I could do both. I was running the organization at the same time doing reporting. I met a kind of fork in the road, which was, do I continue to pursue my media career, or do I immerse myself completely into diversity and inclusion? So I chose the latter. And I also ended up writing 2 books.
Okay. How old is the world of?
World Unique is now 23 years old.
Oh.
23 years
You haven't been doing that full time for 23 years.
No.
When did you start full time?
I would say, I don't know, about maybe 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Maybe,
Yeah.
or less. I can't. It's between 6 to 9 years ago.
Now you are the founder and the president.
Yes.
23 years ago, you founded World Unity. Why?
Because I realized that, number 1, we weren't really addressing the heart of this issue, which is each of us facing ourselves, and which is not easy to do. Like, really face yourself and say, well, how do I really feel about black people? How do I really feel about Asians, Latinos, gay, Muslims? That is the most difficult step for each individual to take. Very, very difficult. And then the next step is even harder, because once you realize you might have a bias, then the second question is, well, what are you going to do about it?
That's important. Yeah.
But what planted the seed for this organization is a campaign that I worked on It was a public service campaign to promote racial and ethnic harmony throughout the city of Boston, and the inspiration for it was a simple poem called The Sun. And it says, "Are you greater than the sun that shines on everyone? Black, brown, yellow, red, and white. The sun does not discriminate." That is the inspiration for this whole organization.
Let's talk about the progression. Start
Right.
at day one and bring me up to date.
I can tell you in 5 minutes. 20, I'll tell you in 20. I don't think you want me to spend hours.
Well, then go for what you got.
Yeah. Well, first of all, being new to the nonprofit world,
Yeah.
I was obviously very new to what it meant to set up a nonprofit, run it, and according to
You have a legal
bylaws.
background,
No,
but you had a lawyer help you do this.
exactly. And they donated it pro bono.
He did it pro
Yes,
bono.
he
Or he or
did.
she did it pro bono.
They did it pro bono.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we
I
had
like that.
then we had an accountant.
Who was working pro bono.
All pro bono.
Carry on with yourself.
Yes. Yes. So it took, I think, 6 months to finally get us approved as a nonprofit. Six to 8 months.
6 months?
6 to 8 months, and then they finally approved us as a nonprofit.
What was the holdup?
The lawyers didn't tell me. They just said there was constant paperwork and reviewing. I don't know what the standard time. You know what the standard time frame is for?
Not 6 months usually.
I think it was 6
I
months.
was part of founding the World of Wellesley.
Yeah.
And we had a lawyer from Nutter. And I think we had our incorporation in less than a month.
Wow.
Well, again,
plus our tax exempt status.
Right. This is what 23 years ago. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly.
Well, let's write it off to.
Maybe it took less.
That
But
bad
it
stuff
seemed
happened
long. It
along
seemed
the
long.
way.
It seemed long for whatever
Okay,
reason.
come on up the line now.
So
You're incorporated.
So now we're incorporated, and then you have to
So
create a board.
what's your theme? What's your
Well, the mission is to make a continuing contribution towards the elimination of prejudice and biases based on race, religion, sexual orientation, mentally and physically challenged, that we want to make a continuing contribution towards eliminating those different forms of prejudice
Okay,
and
now I'm
biases.
going to stop you in midstream.
Yeah.
What's your progress?
Our progress?
What's your progress?
Well, what we're doing has never been done before.
Okay, what's the progress?
We have a design
And
concept.
I'm asking you a question that
Yeah.
I know cannot have a measurable quality, but it still has ways of determining the impact. So I want you to tell me, what impact have you had as a result of what you're doing?
Well, we have a PSA that's been out.
What?
We've had a public service announcement. Public service announcement.
That's not impact.
Well, but let me finish.
That's communication.
Right. The impact by putting the PSA, people telling us how they were impacted.
Well, let me ask you two board members.
Yeah.
What impact do you think that the organization has had on the community?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for Danny or Sarah, but for me, I've seen firsthand how large it's grown. Sarah will talk about the landmark that we're looking to build. I mean, that's going to be the lasting impact of the organization. But I've had my kids come to meetings, growing up in a white neighborhood, exposing them to the importance of diversity. I mean, that really hits home for me.
Yeah, and for me, it has impacted me, beginning with myself. And as passionate as I am, I talk to people about the organization and also about increasing the awareness of diversity and increasing the awareness of the need for the inclusion, the need for equality, and so from my perspective, I am impacting other people by raising the awareness and talking about the wonderful
Are you
project.
doing this as an individual or as an organization?
It's both, actually, both.
Mm-hmm. So just give me some good examples of your impact.
Now, my impact, when I coming from Florida, you think you see diversity, because in Orlando, Florida, where I lived most of my life, there's a lot of.
Let me back up. Your focus is Boston.
Right, exactly. But
Right.
when I moved to
Big city.
Boston, but when I moved to Boston, that's when I started seeing diversity, and but I didn't see diversity in a form of being an inclusion and being an equality to where the cultures, and not only cultures but people from all nations and religious backgrounds and disabilities and different type of diversities. I didn't see that being recognized.
Well,
And
did the three of you have any knowledge or any inkling of what had been going on at Latin?
Yes,
Did you intervene there, or
we reached out to them, absolutely.
What did you and then the Latin
As
situation?
a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked. I called them up today,
Okay.
and we had presented to them our song, which is sung by children, as a tool to help them develop awareness around equality, diversity, inclusion. And their response was, they're doing something else, and they will.
You offered to provide.
We presented the
and
song
they
and the
rejected
PSA.
your offer.
Right. They're doing something
because
else. They gave no explanation other than they're doing something else.
Have you intervened in any other of the activities? There are other things that have been going on in Boston. And,
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by intervene. We have reached out to them several
well,
times.
have you participated in offered to assist in any way in some of the things that are going on?
We've reached out to them. I am also a diversity inclusion educator and trainer,
Mhm.
and I presented them information on 2 books that I wrote as a resource tool that could help both teachers and students
Mhm.
to address this issue. And these are materials that have been used by colleges, 39 specifically, across the country. So we have reached out to them a couple of times, yes.
We found in the world of Wellesley, which is about 27 years old, that we were speaking a lot to the choir. We had a lot of discussions and we had a lot of activities, and periodically we would bring someone into the fold, but someone who was already on the fence. But I don't think that in the 25 years we significantly changed the minds of the people that we wanted to change. You have that sense that you are doing better than that?
Well, I can tell you personally, people have told me how they were literally changed by the message. One young lady told me she learned open-mindedness. Another young lady told me she learned humility. Another young lady told me she learned forgiveness. Like Danny, I share the poem with individuals in the course of a conversation and to get their feedback on the impact that the message has on them. And overwhelmingly, people give me positive response to it. Actually, most recently, one young man said, well, that poem certainly puts us all on an equal playing field.
Other than saying that, what happened?
I'm sorry?
Other than just voicing it, what happened?
Well, Richard, I will share a quote with you by Albert Einstein, who said, "You cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. You must stand on a higher ground." So where we have to start is in our consciousness and in our thinking.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't change that, then we will only be spinning our wheels and creating the same injustices and inequalities because the mindset, the consciousness hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So by introducing people to this message, it's about impacting their consciousness, changing their consciousness, their mindset.
So do you work with other organizations or other
We
groups?
reach out to collaborate. Yes,
Collaboration with the...
We did 1 year. We had 2 years. We did a symposium. We worked with 12 other nonprofit organizations,
Mm-hmm.
and we held an event at the Boston Public Library with 12 other nonprofit organizations,
Mm-hmm.
creating a world free of prejudice and biases. We did it for 2 years. The only reason why we couldn't continue, I was perfectly willing to meet with people, but not enough people were able to commit and to continue to doing the symposium.
Going forward, let's go back and bring up progression of this thing. We know where we are at the moment. So, you recruited.
I'm sorry?
You recruited people.
Now, you're talking about the board or the volunteers?
We're in the organization. I don't care where they
Yeah,
are, whether they're
okay.
volunteers or board members. You recruited them, right?
Right.
How large is your board?
We have about 15, 16 board members.
16?
Yeah.
Even board? Boards are not usually even, they are.
I'm sorry?
They're not usually even boards.
No, we.
Got to allow for a gridlock.
Right.
So you have 15 or 16.
Yeah, somewhere in that area. 15.
Okay. And you recruited them, and then you recruited volunteers.
Right, but the
Or
board.
the volunteers, or the board members of the volunteers.
Yeah, so there's the board members, but board members, when new board members come on, all the other board members see who the person is. We do a process. It's not me single-handedly. I make recommendations, and board members are free to also recommend somebody to the board. So it's not just me single-handedly. It's anybody on the board is welcome to recommend
Is
something
this
to
an
the board.
elected position
Yes.
by
it's
the
elected.
organization?
Yes.
And how large is the organization?
Well, you have the board members, then you have the volunteers. So in total, might be
Who
about
votes on members?
The board.
The board, just board only?
board members, yes.
Okay,
And so you have board members, and then you have volunteers,
okay,
and so probably have that total, maybe about 25.
okay. That includes the board members.
Correct.
All right. And what are the duties?
So with the board members, we make decisions as far as how to go forward because we have to secure a site. So there's always decisions that have to be made. We made a decision to sponsor a national songwriting contest. That's how we got the song. We made a decision to sponsor collaborate with the Boston Architectural College on a design competition. That was a decision made by the board. And all board members are free to also bring ideas to the organization. We have, besides doing the 2 symposiums, we have also done after-work professional development events. We've collaborated with Putnam, with Deloitte, doing an after-work professional development event, which is about empowering minorities and women for professional success. But again, it's the board.
When you do that, what kind of participation do you get?
So the ones that we did, from my recollection, there was about maybe 35 to maybe 40 attendees
Yeah.
coming to
Is
the
this
event.
with Putnam?
The one at Putnam, yeah,
With Putnam, okay.
yeah. And with
How do
Deloitte,
they interact with this?
it was great. It was a panelist of successful leaders, and I moderated the panel.
Okay.
And there was Q&A, but each panelist would share their career path and their challenges and how they overcame them. And then the audience afterwards had the opportunity to ask them questions so that they could learn from these seasoned, experienced professionals. And it was a huge success. The way we know is because everybody filled out an evaluation. But again, the only reason why we couldn't continue is it's really companies providing the space and partnering up with us to do an event like that. So
Bob, what do you do as a member
Well, I try
of the
to
board?
follow Sarah's lead in terms of getting the voice and the mission out there. Obviously, you're trying to create an atmosphere of equality. For me as a white male, I think it's important that we all have our voices heard, whether you're African American, Latino, gay, straight, whatever the case may be. But in terms of promoting diversity, in a way, being white, I am a minority, because not many people who look like me will champion the cause. So I hope that when people see me, they may say, wow, he looks like me and he cares about diversity, so maybe I should lend my voice.
And myself, I'm not only a board member, but I also, my apologies for this.
okay. They can pause. He's an officer.
The what?
He's an
I'm a
officer.
clerk. And so
Where are you an officer?
For the
Serving
board
on the
member,
board.
I serve on the board
Oh, I'm
as the
sorry.
clerk.
I thought you meant a police officer.
No, he's an officer of the board.
And so, and
When he grabbed his phone, I thought, as a board member of your organization, he grabs his phone. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was probably one of the other board members asking me to allow in this. No, just kidding.
All right.
But yeah, so I'm the clerk, and so I take the minutes and make sure that the meetings are run according to how it's been stipulated, and I review them with Sarah before it's distributed and that sort of thing.
You belong to other organizations?
I'm sorry?
Do you belong to other organizations?
Oh no, this is the only one I belong to.
This is the only
so
one?
far.
No. So what do you do with the rest of your time that you're not out making a living?
Okay, well I work full time, at one of the hospitals here in Boston,
Okay.
and as a system engineer.
You mind my asking what do you do at the hospital in Boston?
Yes, I am a system engineer, so I work with systems.
You work your what?
With
systems.
systems.
Okay.
And
Oh, okay.
one of the
Yeah,
administrators.
you're one of those.
Yeah, working with the data processing and all of that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, do the IT pretty much.
How are things going in the world of electronics and hospitals?
So far so good, and a lot of improvements. Of course, there are growing pains because as technology improves, and we bring those improvements to hospitals, we have to go through a lot of testing before it goes out there. But the improvement that it's bringing is connecting physicians with patients and making sure that they all have access to the data, physicians and patients as well. So it's really good. It's in development.
Yours
and
is taking care of the data process.
Yes.
All right, okay. And I wish you'd get it right.
Oh, me too.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So mostly what I do is again, making sure that the application is running behind the scenes and the data is going across systems and that sort of thing. So that's what I do, for 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
Is your workplace very diversified?
Within the IT, yes, diversified, because I just don't. Well, I manage one system, the one in the department where I work for, but there are other systems that I need to look into to make sure that the data, is going across. So it's diversified in that terms.
I mean, in people.
But in terms of
diversity.
people, oh yes. We have people from different nationalities, and so it brings, to me, it brings that balance. I think of interaction, with people that are bringing a lot to the table. So yeah, you have people from all sort of countries and nationalities. So yes, it is diverse.
Okay, Sarah, get on back here to how often do you guys meet?
So we meet once a month, the second Tuesday of every month, for 2 hours, and
2 hours, okay.
because of our wonderful board member here, Danny, was able to help us set up a place to meet, which is obviously very important, because if you don't have a place to meet, you got to keep
You mean
moving
you haven't
around.
made enough money to buy a building yet?
No, we
Oh
haven't.
my goodness gracious.
I know.
We used to meet at Wellesley College in their club, faculty club. So
You're lucky.
we moved out and we now meet at an office building. But anyway, getting to your goodie, you got a goodie coming up. You got a big event.
Oh, yes. It's our 20th, Richard, our 20th. So, for the last 2 decades, we've been bringing the wonderful community together to advance their understanding around equality, diversity, and inclusion. I will keep referring back to Albert Einstein. You cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. You must stand on a higher ground. So we bring the greater community together to present this very simple but profound quote, to engage people, to invite them to think about what this poem is saying to them. And then we also put a spotlight on our vision to build this permanent landmark that will showcase this message so that it can impact future generations.
Give me the course of your What is it, a conference or?
No, it's a wonderful evening. It's not a conference. It's cocktail reception.
How much would
Cocktail
it cost
reception.
How much would it cost me to come?
It would cost you, Richard, $135.
What would I get for my $135?
Cocktail reception.
Who?
A cocktail reception.
Free cocktails?
Well, not free cocktails, but free appetizers. Free appetizers. A dinner, a wonderful dinner,
Okay.
full dinner
Okay.
that includes a salad, main entree, and dessert.
Okay.
Inspiring keynote by an executive director at Morgan Stanley. And then you're going to have to hear me again, Richard.
Okay.
And entertainment, this
What kind of entertainment?
MIT Logarithm, an award-winning a cappella group that's very diverse a cappella group from MIT. And actually there's an opening act as well. It's a really wonderful evening. Harvard has been coming for the last 4 years, Richard. So they
Who's
obviously
they have?
Harvard University. They have been coming for the last
The
4
Kumba
years.
Singers?
I'm sorry?
The Kumba Singers?
No, Harvard
You don't know about the
University.
Kumba Singers at Harvard?
No, I don't.
Oh my goodness gracious! The Kumba Singers have been. They used to be made up principally of people from Radcliffe, and they used to be totally black. And in recent years, they've added some color.
Oh.
But you should check them out for one of your future activities. They're very good. 100 Voices.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
100.
they're quite good.
Well,
But go ahead. You
Richard,
got,
I can almost.
you got MIT. The kids down the street.
High energy. They literally run onto the stage, Richard. They come from all corners of the room.
And they sing.
Run onto the stage and they sing, and they get everybody like out of their seats clapping. They just get everybody into the groove, their music. You would have a very, very good time,
All right.
Richard.
And what else you got?
Well, then we have silent live auction. We're auctioning off a 2-hour cruise on a 50-foot sailboat around the Boston Harbor.
Okay.
Are you a golfer?
No.
No. Okay. Well, we have this wonderful
Wouldn't go near
package.
that little white ball.
We have a wonderful package, golf outing, but it
Okay.
starts out with tennis in the morning by
Okay.
the water. This is up in Maine.
Well, this is an all-day thing.
Tennis in the morning, golf at a country club, Wawanak, I think it's called, and then the dinner.
Now wait
Lobster
a minute.
dinner,
Wait a minute.
lobster
all
dinner.
this is for the same price?
No, the
Oh.
sailboat is one separate event.
Oh, wait a minute.
One
Okay.
2-hour cruise.
Tennis.
The
Where's the-
tennis,
where's
the
the tennis
tennis and the
towel?
golf and the lobster dinner. That's one whole package
Okay.
up in Maine.
You got to
Maine.
go up to Maine.
Oh, those who love golf, they'll go anywhere, right, Bob?
It's true.
Maine.
You
yeah.
got to go to Maine for tennis and golf.
And a lobster dinner.
And a what?
A lobster dinner.
And a lobster. Wait a minute now. I thought the dinner was in. Where's the dinner going to be?
Oh, this is a live auction item I was sharing with you. The dinner is at the Boston Marriott Hotel, but I was sharing with you some auction items that are being auctioned off.
Oh, okay. Oh, you auctioned this. Oh,
Yes.
oh, okay.
You said, tell me more, so I'm telling you more.
Why couldn't you get a golf course near Boston?
Well, because this gentleman belongs to this country club in Maine, so that's how he was able to put this together.
Okay.
Country club in Maine. And let's see, are you a Red Sox fan?
Yeah, I'm a Red Sox fan.
Okay, we're auctioning off a pair of Red Sox tickets.
Okay.
Red Sox tickets.
Did they get knocked out? I think they got knocked out.
They did. They got
Yeah,
knocked
they
out.
got
Yeah.
all that great year, and they got.
And you know what?
Let Cleveland knock them out.
So, Richard, this is how much people love the Red Sox, and they probably like us. Last year, even though, didn't the Red Sox, were they in last place last year?
Last year, yes.
So, Richard, we auctioned a pair of Red Sox tickets that's valued at $125. We got it for $650. Even though they came in last place last year. And the two people who went, they told me they had a fabulous time. They were treated like VIPs.
Okay.
They had such a great time.
All right.
Didn't
So-
one year we have somebody was able to meet David Ortiz on the field?
Yeah, 1 year, yeah. 1 year.
All right. Okay. So how have you done this in past years?
This is our 20th.
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 What's your attendance been in past years?
It hovers between, well, let me say, when we started out, because you know, when you're just starting out, Richard, you don't
Yeah.
have the budget to go to a hotel. You gotta think smart,
Okay.
and you gotta get everything donated.
Okay.
So the first time we did this, it was at the Dante Alighieri Center in Cambridge. We had 3 catering departments donate food. The house was packed, 300 people, but the
Donated
ticket price,
food.
the ticket price was only $50.
How much?
50. But that was like 20 years ago.
Okay. All right.
And we had an international fashion show, and Richard, you will love this. Our international fashion show, talk about unity. There was a couple. They weren't dating, but they were showcasing an outfit that you would wear at a wedding. Well, it turned out the 2 of them ended up getting married. They met at our event. We brought 2 people together. They got married.
How about that?
How about that? See, we really bring people together.
So, how many people do you have?
So when the ticket price was a little bit less,
$50.
300. Yeah.
I can handle that.
I know. So as the ticket price went up higher,
Yeah.
but because you can't throw an event at the hotel and
No.
not be able to raise money. You have to raise money. So after 4 years doing this at the Dante Center, then we had enough money that we could afford to go to a hotel. So it was 4 years into it. Here's the really important question you want to ask me, Richard. Sarah, how much was
I
your
don't know.
first?
Do I?
How much was the first check?
How much is the food?
The first check. No, the first check that we got donated to the
cost of the
organization.
food.
No, donated to the organization.
Yeah. From
Because
the Marriott.
no, Richard.
Oh.
Because the first 4 years we didn't ask for 1 penny,
You
and
got-
we didn't ask for any money the first 4 years. And I realized, like, wait a minute, we got to see if people are willing to give to this, because if no one's willing to give to this, I might as well stop now. Why continue another 4 years, right? So I said we got to start asking for money.
You got the food and people served it, or the buffet
No, this was-
thing? Buffet thing.
No, we had a meeting with a gentleman,
Oh.
multimillionaire, and I just asked him if he would consider making a contribution to our event, to our project. He said, well, send me a proposal.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, maybe that's like the easy way of saying I'm not going to give. But the next time I talked to him, he actually asked me, where's the proposal? That's when I knew he was serious. He
Now,
was
this
serious.
your only money-raising event?
Yes. Don't you want to know how much he gave us, Richard?
I'm listening.
Okay. Richard, in the conversation, he says to me, so Sarah, how much do you want? 5,000 or 10,000? What do you think I
Of course,
said?
you
Richard?
said 5, didn't you?
No. And I didn't say
Didn't
10.
What did you say?
I said to him, whatever you would like to give us, we would very much appreciate. That Friday, we got a check for $10,000. The first check.
But you didn't ask for 10.
I said, whatever you'd like to give, and we got 10.
So you're
That's
offering
how I
money.
knew. I said, well, I guess there is somebody who believes in what we're doing.
Now, you're going to the Marriott this year.
Yes, we are, sir.
Which one?
The one in Copley
Place?
Square. Copley Square.
Copley Place, okay. And you still didn't tell me how many people we had for last time.
Oh, so it hovers like I would say 170, between 150 to 170.
300?
No, between 150
Oh.
to 170.
Okay. And how much was the price last year?
125.
No, you raised it this year.
We hadn't raised it in 10 years.
You raised it to 135.
$10 because we hadn't raised
Well,
it.
that's a raise.
Yeah, but we hadn't raised the ticket price for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, inflation, you got to go, when the hotel raises their cost,
Yeah.
you got to,
Escalation.
escalation.
Did they give you a good break at Marriott?
Yes, they do. We've been working, they've been really wonderful to us.
Very
That's
good.
why we've stayed
Now,
there.
why is this only, you make enough money in one fundraiser to carry on for the year?
Well, we've been very fortunate because we've kept our expenses very, very low for the first 10 years, that we've been able to save enough resources, financial resources, that we can continue without really much stress.
Do you have any outreach programs?
Well, yes. When you say outreach, this year, every
Do
year we.
have programs that you take into schools or into public places?
Unfortunately, we can't do that right now, Richard, because we don't have the staff. We are a staff of 1.25, 1 1/4. Because the
Good.
board members, they all have a full-time job.
Couldn't be you, could it?
To do the programs?
No, that's only.
Oh, the one, yeah. Me, myself, and I. Me, myself. Richard, if if you'd like to help, we welcome your support. With that booming voice, you would get everybody's attention.
My voice got me in trouble once.
Really?
Yeah. The president of the Wellesley Symphony liked my voice and invited me to do oh, now I can't even remember it. One of these recitations with the orchestra.
Oh, yes.
Can't remember what I did. And I said, foolishly, okay. I did it. I don't know how well I did it, but I did it, and I will never do it again. So I get a lot of trouble trying to, people want me to. Anyway, back to, where are you going with your organization?
Well,
Where
the
are you
vision,
guys taking her?
they know
you
what the
taking
vision
her?
is.
But we collaborate. I mean, it's important to focus on the mission. We do have to raise a lot of money to get this landmark built. Sarah, I mean, she's been so dedicated and so persistent. It's definitely an inspiration. And every year we meet new people. I remember the first event I went to. I was sitting at a table with a gentleman that he used to work for the NAACP, and we learned that we both went to Northeastern. So we had a immediate connection, and he told me, he said, if there's anything I can ever do for you, please reach out to me. And I had told him I wanted to get into the diversity field. So he made some introductions for me. Unfortunately, I never landed the job, but he was able to at least extend an offer and put me in touch with certain people.
I don't think you ever told me what you do.
So I work as a sales rep for a company called a sales rep for Heartland Payment Systems. So we help businesses with payment processing and payroll.
Okay. All right. You belong to any other organizations?
I volunteer. I was a former Big Brother for 8 years when I was younger. I volunteer for a networking group called Get Connected, Multicultural Networking Group. I also volunteer for Christmas in the City, which helps homeless families in Boston, in the Boston area. So, there's only so much time in the day, but you try to help out for good causes.
Now, in checking on the web, there are all kinds of organizations out there called World Unity. You don't have any link with any of those, or do you have any link with any of those organizations?
No, we don't. I think we might have been the first.
You what?
I think we were the first.
Okay. Well, you have an idea of what all those organizations do?
No.
You never tried to touch base with any of them?
No. Now with
you wouldn't like to become national in scope?
Well, we are already national.
You're national?
Yeah, in the regard that we send our PSA. Our PSA has been airing on TV stations across the country. We have both radio spot and TV spot that we've shared. Radio, excuse me?
Your impact is not national, so why your PSAs?
Well, because it has a universal message, and because cities across this country are all dealing with the issue of equality, diversity, inclusion.
What kind of return do you get for your messages?
I'm not sure what you mean by return. We're not asking for money.
Does anybody ever offer to do anything for you or with you?
Well, interesting you should say that. Wasn't a PSA, but there was an interview that I did on Channel 7 TV, and out of that interview, we got a young lady or woman come to our event. Not only did she come to the event, she will be coming again this year, and instead of buying one ticket, she's planning to buy 3 tickets. She's also come to an event that we did this summer called the Cabaret Night, and that was just by doing an interview on Channel 7 TV, Urban Update. The PSAs, when we share it, other people, they share it on their Facebook page. We have a video also of 100 children singing the song, and people have shared it as well. I think the challenge, not just for us, but for any organization addressing this issue of equality, diversity, and inclusion, is engaging people and in a productive way, because I will keep going back to that quote by Albert Einstein, Richard, because it's changing. We have to help people become more conscious of how they treat people or think about people who are different than them. And that change cannot happen overnight. It's a process.
Excuse me, Sarah, share the story about the gentleman from Africa.
Oh, thank you
That's
for reminding
has
me.
a very powerful and actually
Thank you. So when you
worldwide
talk about,
impact.
yeah, so there was a young man from Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. He came across our poem. He said it was one of the most powerful messages he's ever read in his entire life. He started sharing it with leaders in his community. So this is the other side of the world, Kenya. Here's a comment from a leader in Kenya. In our country, we have tribal conflicts. This message will help people understand no one is greater than the sun. This message will help reduce violence in our country. So this young man was so taken with this poem, he actually produced a video. And in the video, he has about 30 children reciting the poem. So that video is on our website. It's in the outreach. That's Nairobi, Kenya.
Very good. Very good. Well, you are among the armies that are fighting this battle to bring some humanity to the world, and it's good that you're out there. I hope you enjoy what you're doing, and I hope that you have progress. We seem to have had a little bit here in Wellesley in our efforts. Of course, it's a hard job. It's a difficult job. It's not always a job that is well rewarding, well thought of, cared for, but it has to be done. And you ought to try to link up with some of those other organizations, see what you might be an interesting experience to see what's going on.
Oh yeah, no, we continue to reach out to other organizations. Yes, we have continued. We've reached out to the YWCA, we've reached out to the YMCA, because the YWCA, their first imperative is the elimination of racism. We've reached out to Jewish organizations. As a matter of fact, the past couple of days, we've reached out to Muslim organizations. We've been doing that for the past 5 years, reaching out to Muslim organizations. So we continue to reach out to many, many organizations.
Yeah. Now, what the World of Wealth has done with the new president, Michelle Chalmers, is put on an annual summit. And we raised most of our money from ads and contributions. We put out a 64-page program book every year. So most of our money comes in from the ads for the book, and a few donations from various larger organizations in town. But that's the direction we're going more and more. The organization used to be a very program-oriented organization, and now it's become more proactive, thanks to Michelle Chalmers. And we're watching to see what transpires, and we'll watch you and see what's going on with your efforts. And we've had a nice little discussion. Would you like to start out by closing us out? You got a little something to say in closing?
Yes, I would like to make an invitation to all communities, not only in Boston, but even outside of Boston, to please attend to the 20th Gala event that we'll be having next Saturday, and we'll be glad to have everyone join us.
Right, go out to worldunityinc.org, and you can get tickets online. We'll be at the Copley Marriott. It's a great night. Meet a lot of wonderful, diverse people. You'll get a great meal, be well entertained, and with the auction every year, I end up coming away with a couple of Christmas gifts.
Good. And Sarah.
Well, Richard, first we want to thank you.
Won't be the last time we'll see one.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
We want to thank you really for inviting us to share with your audience our organization and our vision and message, because it's going to take it's one organization and one individual is not going to change America. It does require a collective effort for all of us to do whatever we can do to advance the needle in equality, diversity, and inclusion. And it does require each of us checking ourselves as well, because prejudice is not in the air. We don't breathe it. It's not in the water. We don't drink it. Unfortunately, it's learned behavior. We have to unlearn what we've learned. And this message helps us do that in a very non-judgmental way and in a way that can inspire us and empower us to move forward.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for your work. And thank you for being here. And I want to thank my audience for listening in. I am Richard S. McGhee, and this is The Learning Tree, and a good night to you.